Shane. A-L-A-N Allen. A-L-A-N Allen. Allen.
Hello. This is the 38th parallel. We've completely rebranded. Oh wait, hold on a second. Actually, wait. This isn't a rebrand. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Alan, how are you doing?
Yeah, don't bring me into this. You just start all the way over. I didn't have anything to do with
this. Hold on a second. Wait.
It's just
Shane. A-L-A-N Allen. A-L-A-N Allen. Allen.
Hey, it's the 38th parallel. I am the Opitarian, and with me as always is my good friend Alan Mosley. How are you doing, sir?
Are you still going to go by the Hapitarian?
Yeah,
even though it's a sports show.
Yeah. Why not?
Because then all the boomer sports fans would be like, "What's that?"
Well, if you go back 5 years,
no. Actually, I think we all would like to go back 5 years. I know I would, but that's beyond my powers, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry, but listen. As I said earlier this evening, I think it's been a long week. I think it's been a long week for everybody.
Yeah.
But never fear, because it's football season, and by God, it's sacred. We're gonna take a night off from the worries of the world. We're gonna talk about football.
Hell yeah. So, are you talking about the kicking kind or the pigskin kind? Which one are we talking about here?
What's wrong with you? This is America. What do you think I'm talking about? We're not talking about soccer. We're talking about football.
I forgot about that.
I feel like we should have discussed before the show started which one of us is going to introduce the segments, or are we going to take turns, or do you want me?
Yeah.
Or are you gonna?
I mean, you did prepare quite a bit for the show, and I have my notes here to kind of go along with what we're going to talk about, and also some really hard work on my end that I did to try and separate all the segments together. So if you want to, you can start. You can go ahead and start the first segment.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to kick it off with our over-under reactions. It's only week 1 of the NFL season, so you got to take a lot of stuff with a grain of salt. We're going to start it off with question for you, Shane. The Chiefs dynasty window is closed. Is that an over or under reaction?
I mean, I think for a lot of this, and this is probably going to be lazy again on my end, but it's just one game. I don't know. Not 100% sure yet. If you asked me week 8 and the Chiefs are 2-5, 3-4 somewhere, I'd probably say, yeah. I'd probably say it's maybe not 100% closed, but definitely there's like a little bit of light coming in, but not too much.
All right, so I'm absolutely, this is an overreaction. By the way, you should have said overreaction or underreaction.
Yeah.
Maybe not started off with I don't know, I think, I mean. But anyway, I'm not. What?
Yeah,
we're just
stupid.
friends.
I'm done.
Andy, as long as Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes are with the Chiefs organization, they're going to be postseason contenders. I mean, you can't forget that they just won back-to-back Super Bowls and were in last year's Super Bowl. In my opinion, it's like, well, what's a dynasty window? For me, if you're still competing for Super Bowls, you're still in your dynasty window. You don't have to win it literally every single year. If you'll recall, I had picked the Chiefs to be a wild card team this year, not win the AFC West. So bumpier road, but still competing in the postseason. I think the bigger story from that game was the Chargers' improvements, and particularly Justin Herbert's play, not the Chiefs' decline. 25 of 34, 318 yards, 3 touchdowns. That's a 131.7 rating. They held the Chiefs to 12 points in 3 quarters. So I think it's less about the Chiefs, more about the Chargers.
Hmm.
We'll see this weekend.
Okay. Now that I understand how this whole thing works, yes, I agree.
This guy's never. Man, I love sports shows. Let's do a sports show.
I know, me too.
We're moving on to the next one, Shane.
Yeah.
Over or under reaction? The NFC South goes through Tampa Bay once again this season.
Underreaction.
That's it. You don't have any corroborating.
Okay, look. It's not Carolina, right? It's not Carolina. It's not New Orleans,
Mhm.
and it's not Atlanta. So by process of elimination, yeah, Tampa Bay. So yes, underreaction.
All right, so I'm also going with this is not an overreaction. They look big road win in Atlanta in week 1, who's probably going to be their likeliest biggest competition in the division, right? Now they do have some big games coming up at Texans, Eagles, at Lions, at Bills, at Rams. That's what you get for being the leader in the division the year before, right?
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield looked kind of rough. 17 of 32 for 167. He did have the 3 touchdowns, but he struggled for most of the day. But he also didn't get a lot of help. He was also the team's leading rusher with 5 carries for 39 yards.
Oh no.
Tampa Bay's offense was leaning a lot on Baker Mayfield.
Good.
However, listen to this. This is their last 6 games. Cardinals, Saints, Falcons, 2 games against the Panthers, and at Miami Dolphins. It might be the easiest 6-game stretch to close the season that I've ever heard of. So if teams like Atlanta and New Orleans are not neck and neck with them going into the last month, that division's over.
Yeah, and again, like I was saying before, I mean, if it's just Atlanta, it's not that much of a competition anyway, at least as we know in terms of just one game. But even then, you're just okay. I guess what you're saying, just based off of one game, is that if you can stop the run, which it seemed like they were able to do, they weren't able to have any running game whatsoever. If Baker Mayfield is your leading rusher, it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can make them one-dimensional and just have Baker just throw it every single time by the second quarter, I think you're good.
How about this? Over underreaction. The AFC North is the best division in football.
AFC North.
Mm-hmm. Wow, it's just the longest silence in a lightning round sports talk show I've ever heard. Okay,
because the reason why I'm thinking about it is because, okay, look, overreaction. I think it's an overreaction. That's my answer.
And then this is the part where you say, and because, and then you pound us with those hot stats, and then
AFC.
So anyway, I'm calling this an overreaction. So let's talk about the good and the bad, right? It's definitely a good division. The Bengals and Browns was a nail biter. Somebody had to lose. That's what you get with a divisional game. Pittsburgh looks strong, at least on the offensive side of the ball. Look, the Ravens only lost by 1 point at Buffalo in a game they should have won. Okay. But the bad, the Bengals probably have the best quarterback wide receiver tandem in the league, and they were held to 17 points. Jury's still out on the Browns. We don't know how far that team can go with a 40-year-old Joe Flacco. The Ravens gave up 41 points. Now, look, I know that it was a close contest. Maybe they could have, should have won. I feel like the Ravens kind of have some identity issues, right? Like the Ravens have always been known as such a physical defense first team that needed just enough scoring from the offense to be a winner. Now, all of a sudden, Lamar Jackson has to play like an MVP every week to stay in the game. And Pittsburgh Steelers, kind of similar vibe as the Ravens. They gave up 32 points to the Jets, Shane. They gave up 32 points to the Jets and Justin Fields. I don't know if it's realistic for the Steelers to lean on Aaron Rodgers like that for 16 more weeks. So AFC North, best division in football. For right now, I'm going to say that's a slight overreaction.
Okay, how about the AFC West then? I mean, I'm looking at the record. Chargers and Broncos and Raiders are 1-0. Chiefs are 0-1. but they're still the Chiefs. So you can make an argument for either one of those teams to be the division.
And the
leader.
Chiefs played another AFC West team, so somebody had to lose, right?
Right, exactly.
How about this, Shane? Over underreaction. Aaron Rodgers will have a vintage Rodgers year.
Over reaction.
Oh, strong opinions on this
one
one.
for that one. Yeah, I have a quick
Okay.
one for that. Aaron Rodgers is 50,000 years old. Are you fucking serious? No. I don't care.
Okay, yeah, our sponsors are going to love Are You Fucking Serious? I'm going to go with that's an overreaction. Okay, the good and the bad, right?
Yeah.
The 22 of 30, 244 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's a 136.7 rating. That definitely looked a lot like a vintage Rodgers game. Fully admit that. However, let's talk about the bad. He had 4 sacks, gave up 26 yards, a litany of other hits. He's going to be 42 years old on December 2nd. Yep. Let's see how he handles all of those hits from this suddenly porous offensive line in Pittsburgh with in the next 16 weeks, including matchups against both because check this out. He's got 6 games left against the AFC North, and they also are matched up against the NFC North this year.
Yeah, so it's going to be some tough competition this season. And look, they're going to go face the Packers. Their defense looks pretty damn good. So I don't know, unless Aaron Rodgers has some freaking magic elixir that he can put in his arm and freeze time, and he can make the ball just go right into the receiver's hands every single time and not get sacked. Great, but no, I don't. Aaron Rodgers. Vintage, no. And he's playing for the Steelers. No, fuck the Steelers. No. I don't care. No, it's over. He had one good game this year. Good job. He had one good game in 3 years? Congratulations, Aaron. Congratulations.
All right, moving on to the next one. That's 2 F-bombs, ladies and gentlemen. We're in our news.
Tom Brady can say bullshit on Fox, okay? So
I'm not going to be gaslit into talking about all the reasons why you're not Tom Brady. We're going to move on to over-underreaction. The Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel is coaching for his job this week at home against the New England Patriots.
Ooh, that's an underreaction. I mean, they had a players meeting, all players meeting, talking about whatever, but you can just make the assumption they're probably talking, hey, this coach we got, I think we should get rid of him. If we don't win this game against the Patriots, if we don't win this game in the division, it's over. And then so even if it's not the Patriots or this game, they face the Bills or next after that. So basically, you have 2 divisional games right there. If you can't win those, and you play against the Jets after that, and you lose those, all 3 of those games are losses. Yeah, it's probably over.
Let me. So I agree. This is not an overreaction. Let me listen to this.
Yeah,
33-8. That was the score against the Indianapolis Colts. Tua was 14 of 23 for 114 yards, 2 interceptions, and a fumble, 3 sacks. The Dolphins put up 100 yards all in garbage time in the 4th quarter. If you don't count those drives, they had 111 yards total. Tyreek Hill already throwing temper tantrums on the sideline, and now he's being investigated for a domestic violence incident. Jalen Waddle hurt once again, and their defense made Daniel Jones look like an all-star. Daniel Jones, the guy that washed out from the New York Giants, 22 of 29, 272 yards, touchdown, also 2 rushing touchdowns. Their home date this week with the Pats. And they have NFC South contests coming up with the Panthers and Saints. Those actually might be their only winnable games. If they lose this week, start packing.
Okay, so who's going to take over from Mike? Some assistant, the defensive coordinator is now the official head coach, whatever. All right, great. I think the season's probably over if they lose against New England anyway. 0-2, it's over. It's over for the Dolphins.
All right, we're gonna do one more before we move on. Underreaction. Last year's Detroit Lions were a fluke.
Oh. I would say overreaction. I think it's too early to say. I think Dan Campbell, he's a great coach. I think we've seen that, how whatever they were before him to where they are now, it's like almost like a completely different franchise. The organization actually looks like they know what they're doing. And other than Jared Goff has always kind of been this, he's good if you put the right players around him and if you have a good offensive line, awesome. But then if things start to look bad around him, it's over for you. So, but I still think it's an overreaction.
I'm going to give the Lions the benefit of the doubt for right now that this is an overreaction. For all the young folks here in the audience, try to remember all the way back to the 2017-2018 season when your Jacksonville Jaguars went 10-6 that year. Then they beat the Bills and the Steelers in the playoffs. They eventually lost in the AFC Championship game 24-20 against the peak Tom Brady era New England Patriots. And that was only after they gave up 2 touchdowns late in the fourth quarter in a game that they were winning in Foxborough. In that year, they had the legendary Blake Bortles at quarterback and Doug Maroney at head coach. Now, the previous year, they were 3-13. And then the year after that run, they go all the way back down to 5-11. That, my friends, is a fluke.
Ouch.
I don't think the Lions are a fluke. These are the Lions' last 4 years. Starting in year 2021, they were 3-13. Then they were 9-8. Then they were 12-15. Then they were 15-2 just last season. To me, that's plenty of evidence to show that this team is in a new era under head coach Dan Campbell. I think he's earned more than a little grace with what he's done with the Lions in the post Matthew Stafford era.
Yeah, and I mean that trade, I know we've talked about it before, but that trade was great for both sides. The Rams got a Super Bowl, and the Lions now have built a good team for years to come. So, yeah.
Well, moving on to our week 2 question and answer. We're going to start off with our first question. Are the San Francisco, oh my goodness, Shane, oh no. Yeah. Are your San Francisco 49ers coming off a win, by the way, in Seattle, big win, but are they in trouble? Are the 49ers in trouble? I'm going to run through a few things here, and then I want you to give me your thoughts because you're the 49ers fan.
Yeah.
Tight end George Kittle, injury reserve. That's at least 4 weeks.
Yep.
QB Brock Purdy, he has now been ruled out with the turf toe situation. Probably at least a couple of weeks, maybe longer.
Yeah.
Kicker Jake Moody out the door. He's gone. Now, I know a lot of 49ers fans won't miss him, but that means you're looking for a kicker and you're in the season.
Yeah.
Wide receiver room's a mess. Brandon Ayuk still out. He will still be out at least until week 7, maybe later. Juwan Jennings, questionable, already banged up. 3 other guys in their wide receiver room are out, and another one's questionable. Big win on the road against Seattle, but LA Rams look good. Matthew Stafford apparently did find that magical elixir you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
These are their next few games. At the Saints, Cardinals, the Jaguars. That's not terrible. After that, at Rams, at Bucks, Falcons, at Texans. We talked last week that they have the weakest schedule in the NFL, but they have a few winnable games followed by what is at least the toughest stretch of the weakest schedule. Are the 49ers in trouble?
Well, I think you did mention it there where it's a good thing that it's happening now as opposed to in the middle of the season or late in the season, because they can afford to lose a couple games. Now they're playing against the Saints, which
you still got that button where you can highlight somebody in chat.
Yeah.
Check out that last comment there.
They're playing the Saints. Exactly.
Yeah.
And Spencer Rattler, whatever, but Mac Jones, he's a starter in the league. He has experience. He's won games. So it's not 100% like, oh, who is this backup quarterback going for the 49ers? So I think with Brock Purdy being out, I think if I were to take an educated guess, I would say he's going to miss of the games that you listed. He'll miss this game, obviously, against the Saints. The Cardinals, yes. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back for the Jets. So it'll be 2 weeks. I think he'll be out. And I think he'll play against the Jaguars. That's my prediction. If not the Jaguars, then for sure against the Rams. Like, you definitely want to be prepared for the divisional game, probably more so than an out of division or out of conference game, if that. So, do I think they're in trouble? I think the panic button's like around a 4, 5. It's not 100% out of the realm of possibility. They can get out of this and be 3-0, 4-0, or whatever, 3-1, somewhere in there. So no.
I definitely agree that it's better early than late, but they don't want to fall in like a 3-game hole to the Rams with the way the Rams might be coming back with another year of Stafford. Yeah. Moving on, should the New York Giants start Jackson Dart, the rookie, at quarterback? You know, head coach Brian Daboll, which I think is everybody's odds-on favorite to be in New York. Yeah. Look, he's in a tough spot, right? His hot seat has reached inferno status. What's that old saying? The most popular player on a struggling team is the backup quarterback. You know, we're already seeing visions of that in week 1 of the season. The defense actually played halfway decent. Look, they held the Redskins to 21. That's not terrible. But Russell Wilson, this is the veteran you go out and sign because you want him to mentor your rookie so that you don't have to rush him onto the field. And what does he do? He goes 17 of 37. He's under 50%. He only throws for 168 yards, 2 sacks. That's a 59.3 rating. Although he's also the leading rusher on his team at 8 carries for 44 yards. So at least in his defense, not a lot going on the Giants offense. Here's their next 3 games. This is kind of a different situation than the 49ers. 49ers have a little bit of lull. Next 3 games for the Giants: at Cowboys, Chiefs, Chargers. Things are not looking up for the Giants. So the question is that do you throw Dart to the Wolves knowing that you're going into a tough stretch, or do you ride it out with Russell Wilson? I think either way, Daboll is out after this year. Yeah. It's kind of one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't situations.
I mean, what can you lose if you start Jackson Dart? I mean, Russell Wilson is pretty much at the end of his. It's like Aaron Rodgers. Oh, Aaron Rodgers had a great game. It must be peak Rodgers again. It's one game with Russell Wilson. He's been like, even over in Denver. Yeah, you can make the case that the coaching was bad and all that stuff. Whatever. That was probably Russell Wilson. Like, it's just, that's it. It's over. Everything. Once he left Seattle, he left all the talent in Seattle, and after that, it's over. So start.
You heard Jackson that, folks.
Dart. Yeah.
You heard that, folks. Shane asks the question, what has he got to lose? The answer is his job. That's what Coach Brian Daboll has to lose. Let me ask you this. Are the Green Bay Packers or the Philadelphia Eagles the team to beat in the NFC?
Oh, well, I mean, the Eagles, they won the Super Bowl, so you could make the case. Well, it's them. They're the
defending champions.
Yeah. But the Packers, man, even if Micah Parsons wasn't there, God dang, man, that team is legit. That team's legit. They're probably losing the divisional round against the 49ers, but that's just me being an Eagle maniac. So
yeah, Mac Jones all the way to Super
Bowl. Hell yeah, let's go.
I tell you what, the Green Bay Packers do look good. You heard it here first, Ryan Seifert. 27-13 over the Lions, 27-18 over the Redskins. By the way, neither of those 2 games was as close as those scores indicate. They were more dominant wins than even that. Defense is giving up 15.5 points a game. Micah Parsons said, quote, if the offense can score 20, then we'll win. Jordan Love, 9.4 yards per pass attempt. So he's stretching the field. He's not just checking it down. When he's putting the ball in the air, the ball's going down the field. But with all that said, the defending champion Eagles, in my opinion, are the team to beat until proven otherwise. Look, because we're doing this on Friday, right? Packers play Thursday night. So we already have 2 games for the Packers. Let's wait until Eagles Chiefs this weekend. Or better yet, how about this? How about you tune in to Week 10 Monday Night Football, Eagles at Packers, November 10th.
Ooh,
that's a big game.
That's a good one. Week
That's a big
10?
game.
Damn, that's pretty good.
It's a little ways off, but that could be a big game.
Yeah.
Moving on to which team needs the W most this week? Is it the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Lions, or the Ravens?
Well, I think if the Cowboys want to stay within the Eagles' grasp of that division, I would probably say the Cowboys. And I'm sticking to that answer. Final answer, Cowboys.
This coming from the guy that picked the Cowboys to win the NFC East, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to go with the Lions. All four of these teams are trying to avoid 0-2.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with the Lions for no other reason than expectations. So let's run through those teams really quick. The Ravens are going to be okay, folks. They lost by 1 on the road in Buffalo in a game that they 100% should have won, by the way. And they currently boast the league leaders at quarterback, if you're going by quarterback rating, at running back in total yards, and at receiver in total yards. They're sweeping the polls right now, other than wins, losses. We already talked about the Chiefs. We'll talk about it a little bit more later on. They're hosting the Eagles this week. That's a tall task. But, the season isn't over if you drop a non-conference game, at least as far as the wild card race goes. The Cowboys, you know what? I said last week that even if the Eagles were 16.5-point favorites, I would pick the Eagles. I was wrong. The Cowboys were in that game. They put up a solid effort. This week, they're getting a big step down in competition against the woeful Giants. But like the Cowboys, the Lions lost a divisional game against a tough opponent on the road and now host a lesser opponent in their division with the Chicago Bears. But the Cowboys looked competitive last week. The Lions didn't. The Lions looked atrocious last week in Green Bay. So they can't just survive in the NFC North. They're going to have to handle the Bears, or 15-2 is a distant memory.
Okay, so I guess for those 4 teams that you're mentioning, Cowboys, Chiefs, Lions, Ravens, say the Lions don't win this game. Is that pretty much it for them? I know it's early in the season. It's only we're at week 3 now.
I guess they're not necessarily out of the wild card. It is only week 2. I don't think anyone can be ruled out in week 2. I don't even think the Dolphins can be ruled out in week 2 if they at least show a little bit of fight. The difference is, though, is that would put them 0-2 in the NFC North specifically. So 0-2 in the NFC for the wild card purposes, 0-2 in their division, NFC North. And to the Bears, really losing to the Bears. They were 15-2 last year. So they're going to have equaled their last season loss total in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah, I would also have to say that. So Cowboys, Giants 0-1. We're pretty much expecting the Cowboys to beat the Giants. So the Giants will be 0-2. We're not even counting the fact that there's no way, right? There's no way the Giants are going to win that division. But they'll be tied with the Redskins, right? They're 1-1. They'll both be 1-1. Now, if the Eagles lose to the Chiefs, hey, now every 3-way tie. So the Cowboys have a
Eagles Chiefs. That's out of conference. Well, sure. So Eagles don't stand to lose a ton losing that game. They don't want to lose it, but it is an AFC NFC game. Sure. The Redskins, of course, losing that game to the Packers, that's painful because that is an NFC game. The Cowboys losing to the Eagles is painful because it's in their division. But Cowboys Giants does matter because the Cowboys need a win. They need to win against a bad Giants team, and they need a divisional win. But it is true that with a win this week, they'll be neck and neck with the Redskins. If the Cowboys are a better team than the Redskins, the Cowboys could be a wild card team. Yeah. I'm not on the Shane Cowboys win the NFC East bandwagon, but they could make a wild card if they're a better team than the Redskins.
Well, also not only that, but you mentioned that they were competitive against the Eagles. There were some chances there where maybe they could have pulled it through.
They should have won the game if it wasn't for drops on their final drive by CeeDee Lamb of all people. They win that game.
Yeah, so it gives you the confidence. Look, I know we're not talking about it's a good loss, but we'll just take it as that. Hey, it gives them the confidence that, hey, we can actually beat them. We can beat this team. We can beat the defending champs, the Eagles. We got this. And I think they have that confidence. Hey, we're pretty close. We should have beat them. We know we should have beat them. CeeDee Lamb, you're not going to make those drops again. We know you're not going to do that again. So you're going to go over there. You're going to whoop some ass, beat those birds, and it's over. I don't know how many times I got to say over, but there you go. Another case for me to say the Cowboys are going to win the NFC East. Book it, Dano.
We're moving on to the picks, ladies and gentlemen. Wrap up the show here. I picked 4 games that are going to be tough picks. None of these are easy layups, by the way. But just for the folks who are into the sports betting like I am, I am thinking about bringing back my Sunken Cost Money Pit weekly article. But just as an FYI, none of these games would be games that I would pick if I was betting my hard-earned cash. We're going to start with the Jacksonville Jaguars coming off a win against the Carolina Panthers, traveling on the road to play the Cincinnati Bengals, who are 3.5-point favorites at the time of this reading. Shane, who you got?
Well, taking the betting aside, I'm going to take the Bengals to win that game.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Bengals to cover at home as well. Look, Jags off to a hot start, but that was against the Panthers. Listen to this. Bryce Young barely completed half of his passes, and he had 3 turnovers. He had a very Tua-esque game last week. I think the Bengals offense can turn it up this week. I think the Cleveland Browns are better than you think. So don't get too caught up on that Bengals-Browns final score. Moving on, the Denver Broncos.
One last thing to say about that. Bryce Young sucks. Okay, bye.
I'm so glad you interrupted the flow of the pick segment so that you could remind everyone about Bryce Young's legendary professional career.
I had to let everyone know. I'm sorry.
Denver Broncos are 1.5-point favorites on the road at the Indianapolis Colts. Is that a little bit disrespectful to the Colts after their huge Week 1 win?
No, I don't. I mean, it's Daniel Jones. I think you're always going to have doubts with Daniel Jones. So no, it's not. And I'm taking the Broncos to beat them.
Yeah, I'm going to stay with my preseason prediction and go with the Broncos as well. The Colts are coming off a tremendous game. They scored on all 7 of their offensive possessions. That is a hell of a game. And the Broncos looked awfully mediocre against a bad Titans team at home.
Yeah.
But to be fair, the Broncos did find a way to win despite their 4 turnovers last week. I don't think the Broncos are going to turn the ball over 4 times again this week. I think Indianapolis QB Daniel Jones does crash back down to earth against the Broncos defense this week.
Yeah.
Moving on, we talked about this earlier, Philadelphia Eagles, who are 1.5-point favorites on the road at the Kansas City Chiefs. It's the Super Bowl rematch happening in Week 2. A rare case for the Kansas City Chiefs to be home underdogs. Playing against anybody. Whoa. Eagles 1.5-point favorites. What do you think?
Take the Eagles. I mean, I think this is going to be a down year for the Chiefs, and against the defending champs, I don't know. I'm not really sure they have good chances here.
I think you and I both are trying to will the Chiefs into being down this year. Taking the Eagles on the road to cover. Look, the Chiefs have struggled against mobile quarterbacks for a few years now. And Jalen Hurts, who had 14 carries for 62 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Cowboys, is a lot bigger threat on the ground than Justin Herbert, who himself went 7 for 32, along with his 318 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Listen to this. The Chiefs' left tackle, Josh Simmons, and their left guard, Kingsley Suamataia, both finished in the bottom 10 for pass block win rate in Week 1. I say the Eagles run all over the Chiefs while Mahomes runs for his life.
Yeah, and we've seen it before. We saw it in the Super Bowl when they faced the Buccaneers. If the O-line is not good for Mahomes, well, he's going to be running for his life, and they'll score 9 points.
Finally, last pick of the week, Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming off the big Week 1 win. Another team that got a road divisional win to start the season, big leg up in the division, going on the road to play the Houston Texans. The Texans coming off a loss are 2.5-point favorites against the Buccaneers coming off the W. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, they're home favorites. I think, CJ Stroud's an interesting quarterback because there's some times where you look at him and the way he plays, like, oh yeah, he's playing like a first round pick, great. And then other times you look, you're just like, what? Like, I don't know. This is out of the games I think you've chosen here. I think this one's probably the hardest one to pick because those two teams are both neck and neck in talent. But I'm going to pick the Houston Texans to win by 3.
Okay. I think at this point, I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. Our friend Mike McDaniel will be thrilled to death to hear that. Look, we already talked about it. Baker Mayfield didn't look great last week. 17 of 32 for 167, but he did have the 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
But you know what? It didn't matter because the Bucs defense, particularly the front 7, they're bruisers, right? They held the Falcons to 20 points on the road, and the Falcons only had 69 rushing yards in a crucial divisional win. The Texans D also kept the scoring low, but CJ Stroud, he didn't really look much better than Baker Mayfield. Had a bad interception, 3 sacks, lost 37 yards. He never really looked comfortable in the pocket, while old man Matthew Stafford got his injections into his spine, and he also turned in a vintage performance this week. So I think, this is my prediction, I think that the Bucs defensive front, they may actually get 5+ sacks this week, along with a couple of turnovers. And I think that delivers Tampa Bay their second ugly road win in 2 weeks.
Solid argument. Can't make any disagreements there. So congratulations, Alan. I'm speechless.
Do you have a final thought?
My final thought is that Mac Jones is going to play well. I am hoping and praying he'll play well. And
wait, hold on. You're saying he will, and now you're hoping and praying he will. I feel like it's going downhill.
Because I say Mac Jones, and I'm like, oh yeah, that guy. Mm-hmm. He's oh God. Please, for the love of everything that is holy, do not. Why am I even saying this? Don't throw an interception. He's going to, but I take the points. Whatever the point spread is for the 49ers and Saints, take it. This, whatever. The 49ers are going to win by 7.
49ers are going to win by 7. You know what? I guess I'll make my final thought our bonus pick. I'm going to go with them Saints. I say the Saints. I say the Saints pull it out. I think that Shane Radler was not the reason why the Saints lost this past weekend. And I think that he has enough talent for them to win at least a few games against weaker opponents on their schedule. Look, you couldn't ask for a better gift for the Saints than to find out that George Kittle and Brock Purdy aren't going to be on the field this weekend.
I know.
So I'm going to go with the Saints. And with that, there you have it. It's the first episode of the new, totally not rebranded, totally same show it's always been.
Oh. and I'll definitely play better. I'll know how to do the thing next time. I won't take 2 minutes to answer my question. And we'll tighten it up. I'll tighten it up, actually. Alan's got everything in the bag. Me, on the other hand, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Oh, wait. Sorry. Okay. All right. Let's just hope for a good games. How about that? Let's hope for good games.
Forget your worries, watch football.
Yes. That's a good slogan. Forget your worries, watch football. Thanks, Alan, for doing the show and for guiding the light. And thank me for screwing up. All right. Bye, everybody.